All right, I'm Adam Waters. I'm a second-year history PhD student, and first of all, it's just really wonderful to be able to share my work alongside all of you, so thanks for that. So on March 24th, 1982, a rally was held at Southside Presbyterian Church in Tucson, Arizona, to declare publicly that the church would provide shelter to migrants fleeing systemic violence in Central America. Over the next several years, hundreds of churches, synagogues, mosques, and other religious communities joined the sanctuary movement in supporting migrants and protesting the Reagan administration's policy toward Central America. Likewise, a constellation of committees and organizations were birthed to shepherd the movement at the local, regional, and national levels. And as is common with political movements, especially those on the left, numerous and often serious disagreements emerged over, among other things, the political orientation of sanctuary and the role of Central American migrants themselves in the movement. So the sanctuary movement was the subject of intense media coverage and a good deal of scholarly research in its time. But given where we find ourselves today with renewed conversations about migration from Central America, about migrant detention and deportation regimes, and with the emergence of a new sanctuary movement, I think it's an opportune moment to revisit the 1980s sanctuary movement. So this summer, I spent a month in Tucson conducting initial research on the sanctuary movement and its historical legacies. My research was primarily archival, exploring several sanctuary-related collections at the University of Arizona. But I also had the opportunity to get involved with local organizations currently working in humanitarian assistance and advocacy for migrants, many of which were created and staffed and sustained by former sanctuary workers. My time in the archives and my conversations with migrant justice activists have sparked a number of questions that I hope to consider moving forward. And so I'll outline just a few conclusions from my summer and avenues for further research. So first, most works on sanctuary have either focused on a local level and its manifestations in a particular city, in Tucson, in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, or on the actions of its national leadership. But the documents that I found make clear that the sanctuary movement needs to be approached as a multi-scalar phenomenon. I hope to document the relationships and the dynamics between actors at various scales in order to present a more comprehensive sense of how the movement operated as a whole. My research this summer also made clear that the sanctuary movement was a transnational and international movement. So Tucson-based activists were working closely with church leaders in Central America and in Mexico to develop what they called an underground railroad that brought migrants through Mexico, across the US-Mexico border, and into sanctuary in the United States. So far, no one has really been able to document how this trail actually functioned, particularly how it functioned outside of the borders of the United States. And so I imagine that my work in the future will involve conducting fieldwork in northern Guatemala and in Mexico. And finally, I think there's a lot more to be done to think about how the sanctuary movement fits into larger histories of immigration policy, migrant justice activism, left politics, and progressive religion in the late 20th century in the United States and in Latin America. I'm particularly interested in situating sanctuary as part of an emerging migrant justice praxis, one that stretches from the 1970s through to the present. Thanks.